So the next section that we're going to go ahead and talk about is the cashier drawer. The cashier drawer, it functions similar to the end of day in that what they both do is essentially are keeping track of receipts that are entered into CourtView. Although they function the same, they don't depend on one another. You can completely have your end of day close every day for the week, but during that week you can have one cashier drawer open and it'll just keep counting up all the tender types that you've accepted. Vice versa, you can have your cashier drawer closed every day, but only have a single end of day for the whole week. Our recommendation is to always have your cashier drawer closed the same time that you do your end of day. So whenever you guys close out the end of day, whenever that may be, very wise to go ahead and close out that cashier drawer at the same time. And we recommend this because it is easier to troubleshoot any type of discrepancy that you guys may run into when the end of day start and end time ends are the same as the cashier drawer start and end time as well. So we know what receipts went in at what time and what receipts didn't go in. So again, what the cashier drawer does is it simply is a running total of all the tender types that you've accepted throughout the day or while the cashier drawer was open. So there are two ways of getting to the cashier drawer. One of them is through financial management, the second one being case management. The first one that I'm going to go ahead and show you guys is just through case management. So let's go ahead and go there real quick. So we're going to go up to modules, case management, functions, and then cashier drawer. So before I click on cashier drawer, the one thing that I did want to explain is that by going into the cashier drawer through case management, CourtView will bring up the open cashier drawer that is open for the user that is currently logged into the session. So I should be pulling up, by going into case management and cashier drawer, what the system is going to do is it's going to bring up my cashier drawer and the cashier drawer that is a open status. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and there we go. It brings us up the cashier drawer maintenance screen. Some of these fields up here, you're going to see the username. Like I said, it's going to go ahead and default for my login, and then right below that, it's going to bring in the status. So again, just like I said, what it's going to do is it's going to bring in that cashier drawer under my name that is in an open status. If at one point, if you guys go to your cashier drawer and you guys, if there's a message that comes up saying that there's not a cashier drawer open for yourself, call us at the trial court service desk. We can get one set up for you guys. Very easy to do. So that's just kind of a little side note. So right below the status, we have the beginning bank. This is going to be how much your starting cash is for that cashier drawer. So for this one, I've started off at 40. That's going to be different for each court. It may be the same. Some courts start off with 100. Some start off with 0. Just depends. To the right of those fields, we're going to have the open and date time. So obviously, this is going to default as to when the cashier drawer was open. Below that is going to be the close date and time. This one is currently blank because this one is in an open status. We haven't closed it yet, so there is no close date and time. But once we close it out, we'll definitely see a date there. To the right of that is going to be the till number if your court uses them. Then below to those fields, we're going to have the tenders. The tenders is kept up to date by the system itself. So as you are accepting new receipts in, you will see new line items appear with the different tender types. So currently what we have is cash. Cash, and to the right of that, it's going to say amount on hand, and it's going to show that what we have on hand is $40. Total deposits was a function that was added for a different state in a different court, so we don't use that one there. So again, I'm just going to ignore that. And then the total amounts, it's going to be $40. So I'm assuming that the total amounts would affect this, or the total deposits would affect the total amounts. But since we do not use the total deposits, the amount on hand and the total amounts will be the same. So again, once we start accepting in more cash receipts, we would expect both these amounts to go up depending on how much we've receipted in. If we accept in or receipt in a, let's say, check tender type, the system will then enter in a new line item below the cash for check. And to the right of that, it'll just update those amount on hand and total amounts depending on how much you receipted in for that check. We will definitely see how those line items look once we start receipting in some money. But for now, that's the idea behind the tender section. The deposit section, again, like I said about the total deposits, That functionality was built for a different state and a different port. So we don't use that one. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to bypass that, and we're not going to talk about it. The drawer tally is one that this is where you're going to be entering in all your physical cash. So here it's going to tell you what the tender type is. So obviously we have a cash, and then it's going to, from all of our tallying and our manual entering, it's going to populate a total amount here of cash that we have. And we do that by going into this little ellipsis box here. Once we click on this, what we're going to be able to do is start entering in all those little receipts or all the cash that we have. So let's go ahead and click on that. That's going to bring us up to our drawer detail tally sheet. What we are able to do is we can add a description, some type of side note if you need to add one in. To the right of that, we're going to have reference number, but since we are dealing with cash, the reference number is going to be grayed out. But once we start working with checks and just anything else but cash, we're going to see this reference number field populate. We're going to be able to enter in our check numbers and just credit card reference numbers, things like that. To the right of that, we're going to have the count. This is going to be, especially for cash, the count is going to be how much of each denomination. So let's say that we had two $5 bills. We would enter in the count here, which would be 2. And in the unit section, we would actually put the denomination in there. So that would be 5. To the right of that is the total. So it's going to take the count, multiply it by the unit, and then we're going to get a total. So if we have, let's say that 2 5s, so we're going to go ahead and put 2 for the count. And on the unit, we're going to go ahead and put 5. And then once I tab off of this unit field, CoreView is going to create another line item right below that, so we can just keep moving forward and entering in the rest of our cash without having to use our mouse to create a new record. So once we tab off, we're going to go ahead and see that new line item, but we're also going to see that total update once we do. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. We'll start updating this information once we start taking in some receipts, and then we'll also be able to see what the checks and credit cards and other tender types look like once we start receiving them in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close on this one real quick. It's going to tell us if we want to save any of the changes. We're going to say, yep, we don't want to save any of the changes. We just want to quit. So let's go ahead and start taking in some receipts and see how the cashier drawer is affected by those receipts. So I'm going to hit close on this once. That's going to bring us back to the case management screen. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go up to functions. I'm going to go ahead and go into case initiation. I'm going to search for my test case. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that there's some cash outstanding on it. And then once we have confirmed that there is some money outstanding, we're going to take in a couple of receipts on that case. So we're going to go up to functions, case initiation. The case number, we're going to go ahead and put in our test case number. So we'll hit search, bam, there we go. We're going to go ahead and open it up. We're going to go to the cost screen and just verify those costs real quick. So we're going to go to costs, and it looks like we have some cash bill posted on the case for $1,000. Perfect. That gives us a little bit of leeway of just receiving some different amounts, and seeing how that affects the cashier drawer. So now that we've confirmed that we do have some money outstanding on the case, we're going to go ahead and start taking in some receipts. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close, close again, and then from the search screen, we're going to go ahead and hit print receipt. So print receipt allows us to take in those receipts when it is a non-AR case. We're going to have another video for the accounts receivable, and we're going to be talking about the accounts receivable and non-AR a lot more. But for this example, just bear in mind that what we're doing is, and by using that print receipt function, it's looking at any cost on the case that is not assigned to an accounts receivable plan. So since we're not, and that's what we refer to as non-AR, when things aren't assigned to an AR plan, it's non-AR. So again, this one is going to be for non-AR. So we're just going to go ahead and start receipting in some money. So I'm going to go ahead and take in a cash receipt. Say it's going to be $100. Tab off of that, and I'll hit save real quick. I'm going to keep doing this for cash, check, and then cashier, or we'll do credit card as well. So we'll take a look at how all of those look once we've receipted them, and then we'll see how that cashier drawer looks. I'm not going to print any of the receipts, and I'm just going to keep creating some receipts here. We did cash, we're going to do check next. Check we'll do for $150. The reference number, we'll go ahead and make that 1500, and then we'll hit save. Then we're not going to print out the receipts again. And then one more time, I'm going to do another receipt for the credit card. So do print receipt, credit card, and this one we'll do for 200. And we'll do T-2000. All right. So we've taken in a couple receipts, and now let's go ahead and head back over to our cashier drawer to see how those new receipts affected it. So we're going to hit close once. That's going to take us back just to the main case management screen. Going to go up to functions and then cashier drawer. Now we're starting to see a couple new line items appear, and then also the cash has been affected as well. Once again, the amount on hand should be the same as total amount, and in looking at those, they are the same, so that's good. No big issues there. So let's go ahead and say that we want to start on our end of day, and we want to make sure that our physical cash is the same as what the system has tracked. So every time there's a new line item, it's going to update. So it looks like we have 140 in cash. We didn't offer any change back on that receipt, so whatever I had currently to start with, which was 40, we're gonna have another $100 added on top of that. So now we're at 140. That's right. Looks like we took in one credit card for $200. That's right, and then the check 1,500. So everything looks good. Let's go ahead and start tallying up our money. So let's go ahead and start off with cash first, and then from here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you guys what it looks like once that tender is in balance and what it looks like when the tender is not in balance, whenever it's short or over. So we're going to go ahead and hit the little ellipsis box for this cash. And what we're going to go ahead and do is start adding in our denominations. I'm going to go ahead and start adding in some just like random ones. I'm going to go ahead and say that this guy paid with a couple different denominations, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he paid with 4 5s. So count 4 and then unit 5. Once again, remember that once you tab off that unit field, it's going to bring in a new line item, and then it's going to let us select the count by default. So we have 20 bucks so far. Let's say he paid with 3 20s. So I'm going to hit tab one more time and then do 20 for the unit. Tab off again. That's going to give us our new line item. And now we still have $20 to account for. So we're going to go ahead and put 2 in there, and I'm going to say that this was $10. So 2 10s. Tab. And there we go. So as you can see that it is all in balance. It's $100. It's, actually, it looks like we need to account for that $40 that we had at the beginning balance as well. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just increase this up to 5 for the 20s, so that way we have 140 in our cashier drawer for cash. So total is 140. That's what we had on hand. Let's go ahead and hit save and see how this all looks. Awesome. So as you can see, this field does get populated with the totals that we entered into that tally sheet screen. So what would it look like if we were not in balance with the cash? Let's say that we forgot to enter in that beginning balance that we had. So let's go ahead and go back to the ellipsis button, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the 20s from the 5 back to 3. So I'm going to click on that, and we're going to go to the line item that has the 20s recorded, and like we said, we're going to go from 5 to 3. Tab off just so that it updates, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. The system is automatically going to tell you that you're short $40. This should be a good little sign to say, oh, you know, I forgot my beginning balance. But there are some times where we actually are short and some money is missing, so that's another good thing for CoreView to tell you that you're either short or over. So let's go ahead and go back to the ellipsis right here, and I'm going to change this 3 from 3 to a 6. So that's going to give us $120 for our 20s. So we are currently $20 over what we originally, or what we should have. I'm going to go ahead and hit save on this, and then we're going to see how that looks now. So now the system is going to tell us that we're over $20. So that gives us another opportunity to just double check our money and make sure that we actually have what we should have. So in this case, it would be $140. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the ellipsis, and I'm just going to go ahead and change that back to a 5 and make sure that everything is in balance. Hit save. Okay, so now we have the credit card to worry about. I'm going to go ahead and hit the ellipsis button for the credit cards, and we're going to enter in those receipts as well. As you can see now, the reference number is different. So we still have that description. The reference number field is now available to us where we can start entering our reference numbers. The count is always going to be 1 because we have just one receipt for that individual reference number. We don't have multiple denominations like we do with cash. We just have a simple receipt for these other tender types. So the count for those are just going to be 1. The unit will actually be how much that receipt is actually worth. So let's go ahead and say that that was a $200 receipt. The reference number for it, I think I put T-200 sometime. I know the credit card reference numbers are a little bit different, so then that's why I try to do something different with that one. So the total, you're going to see that it does the count multiplied by the unit, and so the total is correct for $200. Let's go ahead and hit save on that. Next one that we're going to have to go to reconcile is going to be the checks. So once again, we're going to go ahead and hit the ellipsis button and then start entering in that single check that we had received against our test case. Click on that. I think I put 1,500 for that reference number, and then the unit, it was $150. Tab off of that. Total's 150. We're going to go ahead and hit save and see how that looks. Cool. Everything is in balance, it looks like. So once these total amounts match up what you have for the total amounts up here, you know that this cashier drawer is in balance. Once it's in balance and it's time to close out, you can absolutely go ahead and close out this cashier drawer. To close out that cashier drawer, it's actually the 4th dynalink in the cashier drawer maintenance screen. So once you open up that open cashier drawer, this closed drawer will be available to you. So let's go ahead and close it out and see what happens. It's going to ask us if we want to print out the cashier balance report. These ones are going to be printed out for your end of day and then your cashier drawer report. So I would recommend printing those out. But again, if your court process does not dictate that, then I would, then you don't need to. So in this example, I'm not going to go ahead and print it out. So I'll just hit no. And it's going to take us back to the screen that we were on previously. So what the system went ahead and did in this situation is that it simply closed out the cashier drawer, and automatically the system will go ahead and open up another cashier drawer for you to start receiving into again. So let's go ahead and go back up to functions, cashier drawer, and it should open up that next cashier drawer that's in an open status for us. So functions, cashier drawer, and there we go. It just simply gives us our beginning balance. So let's go ahead and say what happens when we try to close out a cashier drawer that is either over or short. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and take in another receipt against that test case. And this time, once I reconcile the cashier drawer, I'm going to make sure and intentionally make sure it is, I'll just go ahead and do it as over. We'll see how the system responds once we try to close out the cashier drawer when it's not in balance. So we're going to go up to modules, case management, functions, case initiation. I'm gonna paste in our case number there, search, and once again, we're just gonna go ahead and go to print receipts, and we're gonna create a receipt against this case. So for this one, I'll just go ahead and do cash. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that it was, this guy paid $80, this person. Don't need to have a reference number there. Awesome, we're gonna go ahead and hit save. I'm not going to print out the cashier or the receipt. So now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into the cashier drawer and see how this is how that receipt has been affecting it, and then we're going to close out the cashier drawer as over. So hit close, back up to functions since we're in case management, and we're going to hit cashier drawer. All right, so it looks like it brought in that $80 as well. So now 40 plus 80, that's 120. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and do the tally real quick for the cash, but this time I'm going to go ahead and say that I accidentally had taken in a little too much money. It looks like one of the $20 bills stuck to one another, and the person did not pay with $80, they paid with $100 cash. So let's go ahead and say that we took in 5 $20 bills instead of the 4 that we should have accepted in. And then also we do have the beginning balance that we started with. So I'm going to go ahead and increment this amount to 7. So let's see. Let's go ahead and hit save and see how this looks. So 140 for our cash. We should have 120, but we're $20 over because one of those $20 bills stuck to each other once they paid. So we're going to go ahead and hit save. The system is now going to say that you are over $20. If we were short, it would say short, and then it'd have a little negative sign over here. So we double checked our money. We definitely accidentally took another $20 in, or whatever the case may be. Let's go ahead and try closing out the cashier drawer. So we're going to go to that fourth Dynalink and hit close drawer. This time CourtView is going to give you a little message telling you that the over short is not equal to 0 for all tender types. Do you want to change the drawer status to maintenance? This again is just letting us know that this tally right here does not match up with what we have on the total amount here. And because of that, it's telling you, do you want to put the drawer into maintenance? If we were to hit no, then this drawer is going to stay in an open status and you can make any changes that you need to. Let's go ahead and hit close drawer one more time. And if we were to hit yes, then what the system is going to do is it's going to take this current cashier drawer and it's going to put it into a maintenance status, and then it's going to open up another cashier drawer in an open status. So this is going to allow you to continue receipting into your next day while also still being able to troubleshoot the cashier drawer that is over or is not in balance. So let's go ahead and hit yes. I'm not going to print out the report for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into functions and then cashier drawer and see how the cashier drawer looks. So once again, we're still in case management, functions, cashier drawer, and the system just pulls up the cashier drawer that's open for me. What happens to that drawer that's in maintenance? This is where it's a good segue to go into how to go into the cashier drawer the second way. So we talked about how we can go into the cashier drawer through case management. Well, the second option that you have is going through financial management. It's a little more work to find the cashier drawer, but that's the only way that we are actually able to close a cashier drawer that is not in balance in CourtView. I'm going to go ahead and hit close on this. I'm going to close out the case management module. I'm going to close out all this stuff right here, and I'm going to go back to the beginning screen where we just have the courthouse. I'm going to go into financial management. So modules, financial management. I'm going to go up to functions and then cashier drawer as well. Okay, so functions, cashier drawer. As you can see that the system actually does not give you your most recent or your cashier drawer that is in an open status. What it does is it brings you to the cashier selection screen. What we're going to have to do in the screen is we're going to have to search for that cashier drawer manually. So what we're going to have to do is enter in the username and then a begin or end date if necessary. So my username is going to be Miguel Hernandez or M Hernandez. The open date, I always recommend putting in some type of open date if you have been receipting for a long time in CourtView. If you do not put a begin or end open dates, the system has a chance of searching for multiple cashier drawers and could lock up the system. There are some users who have been receipting in CourtView for years, and so it's going to pull up every single cashier drawer that person has opened. So I always recommend putting in some type of date here. I'm just going to go for like the beginning of the month and then hit search. Luckily for me, I haven't had very many cashier drawers, so it makes it a lot easier. So what the screen is going to do is once we hit search, once we've entered in some credentials, it's going to return some search results for us, and it's going to bring on the cashier drawers. It's going to let us know what the open dates for them are, the close date if it's already closed, the current status of the drawer, the username, and then if it was over or short, and the amount if it was over or short in some amount. So as we know, that last cashier drawer that we had, it was over, and then it was over by $20. Had it been short, it would have said short and then shown a negative $20 here. We currently have one closed post set right here, or cashier drawer, and then it has the close date there. And this is the cashier drawer that's in question right now. The system said that it put it in maintenance, so this is the cashier drawer. The close date will not populate until we move this cashier drawer from maintenance into closed. So whenever the cashier drawer is in a closed current status, that's when it's going to get the close date. But since it is not closed, it stays open. So like I said previously, the system puts those cashier drawers that are not in balance into maintenance to give you the opportunity to try to troubleshoot it. Also, while opening up a new cashier drawer in an open status, all new receipts will be collected into this one. All new tender types will be accepted. So let's go ahead and go into that maintenance one. I'm going to highlight it and then just open it. It's the same screen that we were looking at when we were going to the cashier drawer through case management, the cashier drawer maintenance screen. Here we still have the opportunity to correct any issues that we may have with this cashier drawer. So let's say that we hit that little button, and let's just say that we accidentally did count the right amount. It's just one of those days and we thought we had a little more than what we thought. So we're going to go ahead and correct this 7 count to a 6. That gets us $120 in our cashier drawer. That is actually correct. So we can go ahead and hit save. By hitting the close drawer, once we've made those changes, the system is just going to ask us if we want to print out the report, and then it's going to close out the cashier drawer. What happens if we try to actually close the cashier drawer if it is not in balance? Let's say for sure we accidentally accepted just too many 20s during that day. We're going to go over to the ellipses again for the cash. I'm going to modify that to 7, hit tab, make sure those fields update, hit save. It's going to tell me that I'm over. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit close for that cashier drawer. So I'm going to go to the 4th Dynalink and hit close. Once again, the system is going to tell us that, the tender types, not all of them equal 0. So something is off. But this time it's going to say, do you want to change the drawer status to closed? Where before it was telling us that we want to put it into a maintenance status. By hitting no, it's going to take us back to the previous screen that is in a maintenance, the previous cashier drawer that is in maintenance. So we'll go ahead and hit no, and once again, it allows us to make any changes if necessary. But since we know that we're actually over on our cash, we're going to go ahead and close out the drawer. So we'll hit close, and then what we're going to do is hit yes. It's going to tell us if we want to print out the report. I'm going to hit no. So now it has a closed cashier drawer, but now it's saying that it is over $20. So those are the two ways of getting into the cashier drawer. It's just a little reminder that you do have the option in financial management when going into the cashier drawer. You are able to search for other users' cashier drawers at your court, and so it's important to put in your login here, and then just choosing some type of begin date just in case the system tries to return too many search results that potentially could lock up the system.